Those are just all these.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to take on and all that, you know.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our November 13th Council Committee of the Whole meeting. I would ask our CAO for roll call, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So we'll start with the chair, Deputy Mayor
I
Sanderson,
am here.
Mayor Blair, Councillor Weatherby,
Present.
Councillor Richardson,
Present.
Councillor Cooper,
Present.
Councillor Johnson,
Present.
Councillor Leggett,
Present.
Councillor Martell,
Present.
Councillor Patton,
Present.
Councillor Benoit,
Present.
Councillor Fletcher,
Present.
Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
You have quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dan. In peace and in friendship and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I acknowledge that the Municipality of Colchester is in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and traditional lands of Mexico. Have an agenda before you. Are there any additions? Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you, Deputy. I would like to add information items, 11B, art acquisition.
Thank you. 11B, art acquisition. And we also have an addition in closed session, and that would be 14, a legal briefing. Is there anything else to add? We're good? Okay, can I have a motion then to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Patton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carries. We have the minutes of the October 16th meeting circulated. Are there any addition or any deletion, corrections, omissions? That's what I'm trying to say. Errors or omissions to the minutes? Not hearing anything, can I have a move to approve those minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Patton, seconded by Councillor Cooper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries. Is there any business arising from those minutes? I'm not seeing any hands, so we'll move right on then to our action items. And number 5 is our community event grant request, Ukrainian Society. And Craig, please.
Good evening, Council. I'm Chair. We have a community event grant in front of you. It's the Ukrainian Society, and they're looking for funding to have a St. Nicholas Day. And you have a little bit of background in there. They invite families for an event-filled day of Ukrainian traditions and bring Canadian and Ukraine families together. The request would be considered under the community event grant. The event is going to be happening on December 6th. They're looking for an amount of $950 for that. They're expecting about 300 plus participants and followers, and they usually attract from the South Shore in Halifax and all over Nova Scotia. And we have a couple options. Certainly council can support in the amount of $950, and or they can recommend funding denied, or they can recommend council for a portion of that. In our community event grant, there was $60,000 in our budget for 2025. To date, we have 30,466 of the 60,000 used. I'd open it up for the floor for council's discussion or questions.
Thank you, Craig. Is anyone prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll move the council committee recommend to council that funding in the amount of $950 for the Ukrainian Society's St. Nicholas Day event be approved.
Thank you. This is seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I'd just like to make one statement. When Councillor Kennedy and I were down for NSFM, we walked across from the hotel and there's the park there. And in the park, there's I don't know if it's a statue or what you call it. It's a tribute to the first Ukrainians that came to Nova Scotia in 1981. 1891, sorry. A little bit. Yeah. So I kind of figure if they can put a statue up, we can do a festival sort of thing. So thank you.
Councillor Kennedy.
I'm just wondering through the chair, Craig, do they apply for this grant from anyone else? Because I know Emmanuel Baptist is in town, am I correct?
Yeah, currently they have not. The grant from the town has, they had inquired to the town, but their deadline was passed, so they were just looking for support from us right now, and they know in future that they know some other deadlines that they can and apply for some other grants, but that's the only one that I'm aware of that they've applied for.
And one more question.
Sure.
Are they charging at the door or is it free?
It is free.
Any other comments, questions? Are you ready for the vote? We're gonna use our clickers for this one. Yeah. We know what the motion is, so the voting is open. Voting is complete. Okay, so we have almost a unanimous. Okay.
Get the white out, get the white out.
All right, so we do have a unanimous. So Kennedy, you intended to vote yes, I presume. Yeah, thank you. We're still getting on to these.
Big
buttons.
thumbs.
Big thumbs and small buttons. Yeah, thank you. Motion is carried. All right, and our next item is item 6, crosswalks, Plains Road. And Michelle is going to take this one. Michelle Boudreau, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I figured rather than sitting behind everybody, maybe I would come forward. So see me when I'm speaking. So the purpose of this item is to seek direction from council on a request for a crosswalk on Plains Road in Debert. So in August of 2024, council received a petition request from the residents of Debert to have a crosswalk installed on Plains Road across from the base. As per our crosswalk policy, where this is a provincially owned road, staff then forwarded the request to the province for their feedback. We did receive a response from the province in October. They are in support of the crosswalk and it could be installed provided that we provide pedestrian facilities on both sides of Plains Road. At the moment, there is nothing on the north side of Plains Road, and while there's a small section of old asphalt for a piece of the south side, it's not maintained in the winter and isn't really one of our traditional sidewalk locations there. So at this point, there is no appropriate infrastructure to have the crosswalk supported at that location. Currently now, as many councillors will know, we are undergoing an active transportation study. And the purpose of the study is to identify the short and long-term plans for new sidewalks and other AT infrastructure in the county. So staff have looked at the request for the crosswalk, are recommending to council that we await the results of the AT strategy to see if any infrastructure for active transportation will come out of that study for Plains Road. And if yes, then that would be a more appropriate time to consider installing a crosswalk at the requested location. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Benoit, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just one sec. Sorry. I will make a motion that council committee recommends to council that a decision on the request for the signalized crosswalk on Plains Road be deferred until the active transportation study is complete, and I can speak on it when I
Okay,
can.
you have a seconder. Councillor Patton seconded the motion. Councillor Benoit, please.
Thank you. I did speak with the one that had started the petition and such this week, and I explained everything to her, and she agreed with it, because in putting the pedestrian islands on both sides doesn't really make sense, because another issue that we have in that area is the shoulders don't really, like when the plow's coming through, it gets piled up with snow, and then there's also safety concern there for the kids that are going to the bus stop there, and it's dangerous because it doesn't get maintained or anything. So I think having a crosswalk and having the correct sidewalks there would be a much better decision than just having the islands on both sides.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, please.
Bail. Thank you, Deputy. Just a question, two-part question, Michelle. Number one, I'm not familiar with it. Why does it take so long to get feedback from the province? And number two, what is the process that they have to go through to evaluate a crosswalk? So that's the part. So I just want to know why so long.
Through the chair. So first I will acknowledge that historically it does take a little over a year for a request to be processed. I'm told it's a resource issue at the province. What I can tell you is they have an individual assigned to look at traffic patterns, look at sight lines, look at road design, look at speeds, and then based on that review, they either approve or deny the request. So there is some analysis required on site to come up with an answer.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand what you're saying. The reason I'm asking is obviously I've got one out there floating for over a year or two and on East Prince Street. And, you know, the question is that when do we see it? Is that we're evaluating crosswalks every time that we're passing, something could happen where we should have these things up in the spots that they have to go. But I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, why does it take so bloody long? It's just 1 year. In the real world, in the private enterprise, that wouldn't work very well, but that's the way it is. But anyway, understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I also wanted to add, as part of our active transportation study, we wanted the consultant to take a look at crosswalks in particular, because we are seeing an increased number of requests for crosswalks. And we'd like to have some kind of evaluation criteria of our own to establish where they're appropriate, you know, what the connectivity should look like. You know, the reality is that being struck by a vehicle, whether you're in a crosswalk or not, at 30 kilometers an hour, I think that the rate of somebody being killed is, you know, something like 20%, but then when you go up to 50, 60 kilometers per hour, it's closer to 100. So I acknowledge that crosswalks can help, but they don't eliminate that risk. So hopefully the consultant will come forward with some criteria to help guide council in terms of location and how they should be viewed. So that hopefully will come back as well with some thoughts on that. And while I have everybody's ear, just flagging that next week, we do have 3 open houses for the active transportation strategy. So please make sure you can pop into one of those if you can.
Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through to Michelle. Just question of curiosity. Do we actually pay for the sidewalks or crosswalks when they go in?
Through the chair, yes, we do pay for them. Somewhere between 20 and 30,000, depending on the number or the amount of concrete required.
And is there a difference in Bible Hill versus the county?
Through the chair, not that I'm aware, we pay for the cost of the equipment and the install by Black and Mac, for example. So I'm not aware that the village has a different arrangement, but again, I'm not familiar with what.
I know it was one more question. I noticed all the crosswalks on College Road are being replaced for the infrastructure for lighting. There's new bollards going up on at least 3 existing crosswalks. Osprey, Covington, well, Covington was new. Osprey, Guest Drive, and the AC. There's new bollards going up where there are already existing overhead lighting.
Through the chair, that would be in the village. I can maybe predict they're asking to have them changed to rapid flashing rectangular rather than overhead, but again, that's just be speculation. So
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with changes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. So we have a motion on the floor. Well, we'll vote with our clickers. Voting is now open. And voting is closed. And the decision is unanimous vote in favor. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michelle. Our next item is a 20-ton excavator purchase, and Phil Redden is going to Oh, sorry,
Madam Chair,
Councillor.
I have to declare a conflict of interest for this.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Michelle's lead, Madam Chair, it's okay.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, again, and good evening, Council. So the action item that you have in front of you this evening is to provide sort of, I'll say, some information regarding the construction and demolition excavator purchase and receive endorsement for the staff recommendation for the procurement of this particular machine. So a bit of background. So in 2025-26 operating budget, Council approved a new solid waste operator position for the full-time activity at the C&D disposal cell, not only to increase the diversion of disposed material and increase compaction to maximize the cell space as well. We did a study a while back on the sort of situation at the C&D cell for airspace analysis, and in that analysis, it showed that we were in the vicinity of 673 tons or kilograms per cubic meter. And some of the cells that are being compacted properly can get upwards of 900 kilograms per cubic meter. So that's part of our sort of strategy, is to try to divert material from that C&D cell, but also to increase compaction efforts. In the capital budget, 25-26 capital budget, council also approved a purchase for a 20-ton excavator with a waste handling grapple to assist with the compaction and diversion efforts. If you remember, recently staff completed a procurement of a 20-ton excavator model that had been destroyed at the site on May the 12th. And we used the canoe platform that's part of our procurement strategy as provided by the municipality's procurement policy. And for this procurement, staff opted to issue a tender for the C&D excavator procurement to provide council sort of with the results of the tender and staff recommendations. But the idea was for staff to do a vetting process to sort of compare the canoe program to what the canoe people would do, and then potentially how staff would evaluate and give some information based on the experience that staff have. The tender, which I've attached the document to give you the blank copy of what we posted on October the 7th with a closing date of 3 p.m. on Friday, the 17th of October. So just a bit of background on the posting side of things. So, you know, when we posted, we put it out for typically 10 to 12 days to give the vendor community the opportunity to see the specs and put a proposal together. So in your analysis section, I tried to highlight significant components of our tender. So that gives not only details as to what we're looking for, but also gives the opportunity for staff to do a full evaluation to ensure that the best, I'll say, overall option. And from my experience, I use the three things around price, quality, and service are the three components that are primarily focused on the success of the vendor. So if you note, several of the items that I've listed here provides opportunity for the municipality to reject any tenders or all tenders and formalities and other items as listed in that sort of Article 5. Article 7 indicates, you know, items like the experience of the manufacturer, the experience and track record of the manufacturer's agent, delivery, service, availability, and then the last one, quality on record. And that's a pretty important one when you're doing these evaluations, to know what the community views as this particular item, whether it's published information or whether it's information that can be provided sort of as a reference when you're working through your evaluation. And then, of course, you know, the whole concept evaluation of tenders on page 4 and 5, I highlight the concept that our responsibility is to find the submission that is the best value for the municipality of Colchester, both the short-term, medium-term, and long-term value through evaluation. So that we had 10 tenders that came in. I noted 2 at the bottom from Alpha Equipment that arrived at 3:16 p.m., 16 minutes late from the closing date. So I didn't include those in the information as far as the documents go for the details. But I list them in net price from top to bottom. And then we identified what we would call sort of the specs associated with the tender. And the specs were the details of what we're looking for. And I noted those in the tender document. You can see those specs, making sure that the machine that we're looking for, the manufacturer, can meet those specs. And then the standard warranty and extended warranty, and the costs associated with those warranties were what were items that were asked from the vendor. And then I did add on or indicate some value adds. And I didn't ask for value adds. Typically, that might be something that you would negotiate through the process. Value adds can include things like training, what options are available for sort of startup parts kits and those kind of things that typically you might get into, I'll say, negotiations once you're down to the final sort of part of the equation. But there was a couple of vendors that submitted some value add items that I thought were important to note. So through the vetting process, and we did sort of reach out with my colleague with the corporate services to help sort of look at some of the warranty information to determine what the vendor had sent. And then highlighted a few things where, you know, we did ask for information and sometimes the vendor either didn't include it or it was somewhat obscure in terms of what they were trying to provide information for. So in the evaluation, we sort of took three major steps that I have noted here. And the initial review for the bids were to evaluate on specs, price, a standard warranty, and extended warranty. And I've noted those particular items associated with it, with the Sani unit being the lowest price. The next lowest price was the Hitachi. But one of the challenges in the Hitachi unit, and if you noted in the specs, because this has a rotating grapple on it, the excavator needs to be plumbed with I'll say a hydraulic kit that can allow for the third function, they call it, which is have the unit rotate. And in Hitachi's bid, they indicated that they could supply that. But when the setup time came and the connection and all that together, all those costs would be borne by the municipality. They didn't give an indication of what they anticipated those costs to do. We did some research and found out that the whole valve kit and setup itself would be in the range of $12,000. You know, we estimate that at least $3,000 to $4,000 of that would be associated with connection, hookup, and setup and getting things put together. The next lowest price that we saw there was the Caterpillar unit, and again, that meets all of the requirements needed associated with that. And I didn't go on to the other unit for that particular one, because once you reach a certain criteria and know it's there, then you can utilize that as your waypoint. The next one we worked on service and quality, and so the Sani unit and the Caterpillar unit have local service ability in the Colchester region. And what you find today is that a lot of the manufacturers and their representatives, they have service people that are located in various communities around the province. So their head office might be located, say, perhaps in Halifax, but yet they establish zones, and the zone is associated with from where the service person lives. So if you need service, then they're going to charge you from where that particular person is set up for home base, and that's your service call from there. So Caterpillar and Sani both have those abilities to service out of the Colchester region. Hitachi service would be based out of Halifax. And then we started on the quality side and doing some research. Local research we connected with some folks locally, as well as did some published research. And we do have some concerns with the Sani unit based on uptime. Some of the posted items that you can find in research through your internet community, there's lots of, I'll say, blogs out there that you can touch base with around agricultural and commercial operations, as well as there's some companies that do vet heavy duty equipment and give you some information. There was a few items that were of concern, early undercarriage wear in this particular case, some hydraulic systems functionality around both the hydraulics as well as electric components, and then some powertrain issues. With this particular unit, there's a variety of different options for the motor that you may get with these units. Some are, depending on the size of the machine, dictates which type of machine that you might get. And we're finding that some of those options are challenging for the service community, where the manufacturer doesn't have a rep here, and sometimes you have to deal directly with the manufacturer on challenges that may come up. The other thing that was presented to us on that particular unit was the operator ergonomics, that the cab was, not as, I'll say, operator comfortable as what operators would want to have. And so that does provide some concerns around the ergonomics. The Hitachi and the Caterpillar unit, we did not report or find any significant quality issues from those units. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the third review was to really look for the best long-term, short-term, and medium-term value for the municipality of Colchester. So the Caterpillar unit, it fulfilled the obligations around the hydraulic connections of the grapple. It provided good service and good quality reports. And so it'll be the same excavator that we have on site. So there would be some preventative maintenance parts and compatibility and operator interchangeability based on the fact that we do already have a CAT excavator. There's also an original equipment manufacturer grapple that we've been looking at. There's not a whole lot of options out there in the grapple community for an attachment for machines, and that would be some additional operator compatibility. And as I mentioned earlier, as a side note, we've been having to rent a unit since our site started to function the C&D site started to function with the operator. To a value of about $7,800, almost $8,000 a month for the cost of a rental unit. So the Caterpillar agent has indicated that they'd be willing to keep us with a 70-day rental unit on site during this sort of procurement process. And I just put that out there as being a sort of, in my opinion, a good value for the municipality based on the fact that that's an option that's available for us. So in the conclusion, staff have determined that the best overall short, medium, and long-term value for the municipality would be the 20-ton Caterpillar Excavator Purchase. So I put a couple options on the table tonight. Council could recommend that staff proceed with the purchase of the 20-ton Caterpillar excavator at a price of $314,612, excluding HST. Or council committee could recommend not proceeding with the excavator purchase as presented and direct staff back to provide an alternative option. A couple of resource implications. There is, as I mentioned, budget in the capital budget already approved for the purchase of the 20-ton excavator, along with the waste handling grapple. And the purchase of the Caterpillar excavator and the quoted grapple is within budget. The budget we have for the grapple quote is $73,000. Staff have been successful, and this is a good news story, in acquiring a grant from the Debert, Nova Scotia through the Municipal Efficiency Program to assist in the purchase of the C&D diversion project in the amount of $70,891, and that helps support the cost of not only the grapple, but there's some roll-off bins that are required to be stored at the site to be able to deposit the diverted material in, so we can put it in the right location. As I mentioned, the Director of Corporate Services helped out with the warranty evaluation with me, and there is some very good strategic priorities by having dedicated staff in that C&D cell to increase the diversion, as well as I mentioned, to get that compaction effort up a little more than what it currently is. So that's my recommendation, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Phil. Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm prepared to make a motion to bring it forward.
Please do.
Let's speak on it.
Yep.
That option, the motion is the council and committee recommend to council the excavator tender be cancelled. We go to market with an RFP outlining specifications required for the equipment. That's the motion. Second that first.
Yep. I need a seconder for that motion, second by Councillor Richardson.
And I'd like to speak on this. Probably not many people in this room have as much experience with heavy machinery than I do. Excellent presentation, Phil. We had a meeting yesterday afternoon with the CAO and myself and Tim. 320 CAT excavator that we are looking at is an entry-level machine. It's not the true 320L. It's a lesser horsepower version of the machine. But that being said, it's still not, all machines go up and down, around and around. The issues that come to light are everybody's tender is a little bit different. So there appears to be a lot of ambiguity to this whole process. And learned yesterday that this machine is going to travel a lot from one end of the site back and forth between the lumber pile and the back end of the C&D site. That's a lot of padding. Biggest thing I want to see is it doesn't come down to money. Are we buying the right machine? There's lots of these other types of machines like material handlers that you guys have at the sawmill with grapples on them. You can pile things higher, all kinds of options out there. You could even get a rubber tired excavator that riggers on it. So you can drive those up and down the street and put the riggers down and function at the site. That's a couple of things that come to me. If it were me buying the thing, the number two, right? Actually, lowest price bid, the Hitachi. I work for a company that has 5 of them. They're probably, in my mind, the best machine on the market, but that's operator preference. But that has no bearing in this conversation. So we have to, as taxpayers, look into the future of the Balefield facility. I see a lot of opportunities for machines up there for different functions, especially where we are at Balefield. Our grapple is very useful because we're baling everything. So we went to an accident up there a month ago. The guy had a load of bales on. I assume you guys loaded that trailer somehow, or somebody did up there?
Through the chair, yeah, it's loaded with the forklift
Yeah.
and taken off with a loader with forks on it.
Yeah, so like, like a material handler type grapple could easily do that function too. There's all kinds of machines out there, so if we're looking for a machine to dig dirt, an excavator's the answer. If we're looking for a machine to pick things up, smash things around, there might be a different machine out there. That's why I'm making the motion the way it is. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Deputy. Just to clarify the motion, and maybe Dan wants to answer this. Tell us the difference between an RFP and what we presently have out there in front of us right now. What would an RFP do for someone like Phil that's gonna go back to market with the same specs or what else?
Thank you. Through the chair. So typically with an RFP, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick certain key components and say, this is the spec that we're looking for, but then it opens the door to every company will have their own way of doing something. So if it's a grapple, there may be 2 or 3 grapples. If there's a machine, there'll be 2 or 3 machines. But again, the work that needs to be done would be specified by Phil and his team, specify what they're looking for specs. So you typically in RFP, you're looking for a fully fitted up piece of equipment. So you're gonna say grapples, fire suppression, whatever, apples to apples to apples. And then obviously while money comes to play, the very specific warranty comes to play because every one of them have the exact same attachment. So just the subtle difference rather than a tender going broad specifications, you get a little tighter with the specifications when you go down that road, just kind of in general terms. That will be the difference.
If I may, there,
Yep.
Deputy. So, and I agree with you. Quality, price, and service is 3 things that I look for when I'm buying something. It's not always price. When I'm talking about service, and I said to Dan yesterday or today, I said, local service to me is still HRM or multi. You know, you can say you got service and referral, but at the end of the day, if it is one guy and one service, if you need him tomorrow and call him today, probably isn't coming anyway. So chances are you've got to bring it from somewhere, but, so I did a little research. I'm gonna leave it for the next go around and, you know, I know that we went through this with Canoe last time and we kind of wondered why we didn't choose something that was cheaper. Well, from where I said, $60,000 is a lot of money. It's 23% of the actual cost of this machine before taxes, before fire suppression, before rotating grapple and hydraulics and whatever else you put on it. I think we've got to get it a fair shake. So I'm not saying we buy it, but I understand they do have a redesigned cab and it is a bigger cab. Kawasaki hydraulics is what pretty much everybody on your list is using for hydraulics is OEM material anyway. So I don't know how close we really looked at it, but I'm with where we're going and it's not something I don't think we need next month out there. I think we can probably do without a little while. Is that true? Can we do without it for a little bit or can we?
Through the chair, we've been operating with the rental unit since like 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
And, you know, our goal is to continue on. The airspace analysis indicated that we're less than 3 years, chasing 2 years before the cell is finished. So, you know, it's important for us to get this project going as soon as possible.
So the rental unit now is what that we're using?
We're using a Caterpillar excavator with a bucket with a thumb on it. And just to allude, the excavator undercarriage is used to help compact as well. So with that 20 tons traveling over the debris and helping smash the debris down as well as picking the material out. So that's the reason for the excavator choice versus a track loader. And from a storage perspective, we have an area designated through our budget to build a storage area up in there so machines and equipment don't have to travel back and forth. So we have that option that's coming this fall too. So
just as a follow-up, so you say Cat's got a rental out there now. So I see Cat in their code put a 7-day rental cost that they cover up to 18.5. Would they take the price off of the rental if we bought the rental here tonight for the last few weeks? Did they get into that or did they? I mean, that's kind of the same thing as opposed to front end and the back end, but if they got a rental on site, why wouldn't they say, we'll take the price of the rental off and you guys decide to buy it? Yeah,
through the chair, it's a good question. What they have as a rental unit is the Taj Mahal, and the Taj Mahal is not what we need. It's just a basic excavator is what we opted for. So purchasing that unit would be beyond something that would need, and the price would be significantly more.
So the answer to my question is no, we would take the rental cost off if we buy the CAT excavator we're looking at here tonight.
Yeah.
They would sell us, we don't need to buy a rental, we're saying we want to buy something less than the rental, so they wouldn't take the price.
Through the chair, what they've told us is that if they have a 70-day delivery time, and if we wanted to continue to utilize the C&D cell with an excavator, they would leave that option there for us. And if we said we don't want that, then they would take it away tomorrow or the next day, and we would be obligated to try to find a rental unit to keep us going for the period of time to get the excavator on site.
So they're not gonna reimburse the rental costs is what we're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Councillor Weatherby.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. Through the chair to Phil. I'm assuming where you work in the cell and look after that, and you have some time in procurement, you've likely done this before.
Through the chair, yes. I mean, I have 10 years of industrial procurement and have purchased a lot of mobile equipment. And we have a facility that was using embarks and chip, and equipment was utilized in those areas on a daily basis. And I have lots of experience in recognizing the quality of particular mobile equipment units, and feel that using that experience putting forward would have provided a good recommendation to council based on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you. Phil, after, through you, Madam Chair, to Phil, after reading this document, and I have to admit, I'm not someone who operates an excavator, nor have I ever. I recognize that you have done a tremendous amount of work on this. You've gotten a lot of detail in here, and to me, you have worked with it, and you recognize what you need in the field. So I see this as something that while there may be concerns of other people using other types of equipment, I believe that you know what you need at the Balefield site. And I believe in your recommendation with regards to this piece of equipment. This isn't something that is done lightly. Our staff, when they put something before our council, work very hard on it. They get all the information, they put the facts together. And I appreciate all the work that you have done on this. So I will certainly be supporting your recommendation. Thank you.
And Councillor Fletcher, please.
Through the chair to Phil. And this kind of goes up with Mayor Blair. Has the tender that it went out, did this machine meet your expectations of everything you're going to need for what you need it to do?
Through the chair, yes, the one that I'm recommending comes ready to go.
Okay. Second question through the chair. The grapple that you were discussing, the other excavator that's out there, is that grapple going to be interchangeable with that other excavator so that potentially you could have two, like if one does go down for, say, daily or a maintenance that might take a day or two, could that grapple go onto that other machine to help things keep moving?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, we've set everything up with the Craig attachment so that all the machines can be interchangeable. So there'll be a plate attached. So if one grapple needed to be changed over, it could easily be done. So.
Okay. And with through the chair again, both machines being both cats, I know there's some machines have a little different functions or whatever, but that would be easy for employees to operate. They wouldn't like two different machines, maybe one, it'd be easier for them to operate if they're both the same.
That is correct. I did note in the action item that there is operator interchangeability there so that you can move from one machine to the other without having any, I'll say, changes associated with it.
Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Benoit.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Phil. I was going to ask about the grapple, but I see that's been taken care of. I was hoping that we could have a dealer location in Colchester as well, but it looks like from the top three that you spoke on, you did quite a bit of research on that and understand why one of them is unable to be there. So I think based on our last procurement that we were looking at, and we ended up using Canoe, there was a lot of discussion on that. And I think, Phil, you heard that and you did a lot of work on this. So I agree. I think everything has been answered in this, and I'm not a machine operator by any means, so I don't know the ins and outs, but by reading this document, I'm gonna support staff's recommendation.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Tracy, were you able to capture all of that? That motion? Yeah, there it is. So the recommendation to council, so excavator tender be cancelled and go to market with an RFP outlining specific requirements for the equipment. Specifications determined by staff. So if we're ready, we'll open the vote now.
No.
Just waiting on Lisa, I think. Councillor Patton?
Oh, I hit it.
And I hit no.
And it hasn't come up yet.
There we go.
It's great.
Yeah, so we haven't seen the results of the
sorry.
vote.
Okay.
Okay.
So the voting is closed. So there are the
Oh.
results. We have 6 noes and 5 yeses. Motion is defeated. Is anybody, Councillor Weatherby, you're prepared to put another motion on the board? Oh, sorry, Councillor Fletcher, got ahead. Sorry about that.
I'd like to make a motion. That council committee recommend the council staff proceed with the purchase of the 20-ton Caterpillar excavator at the price of $314,612 excluding HST.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Weatherby. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Ready for the vote? We can open the voting now. Just takes time. Oh, so
Do this one.
manually. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded nay. So raise your hands, please. The nays. So we have Councillor Richardson, Cooper, Johnson, and Leggett. And the motion carries. Thank you, everybody. All right, next item, note that Councillor Martel has returned to the table. Our next item is Flood Advisory Committee Terms of Reference, and Michelle Boudreau, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The item before you here is for committee to review and approve changes to the terms of reference for the County Flood Advisory Committee. As is typical with most committees of council, we have a terms of reference that explains the mandate, membership, terms. And in the case of flood advisory, the committee itself can't authorize changes to the terms of reference. Any changes have to the council for approval, which is why this is before you this evening. Really, the changes to this terms of reference are minor, basically adding the Director of Community Development as an ex officio staff member, because we run into situations where there were planning considerations for certain projects that were overlooked. I felt it would be great to have somebody from our planning department at the table to look at our project that lens. So otherwise, other than some updated names of government departments and policies, fortunate to this terms of reference is to add our Director of Community Development. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Now, from Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you, Deputy. I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor. I move that council committee recommends to council that the proposed changes to the County Flood Advisory Committee terms of reference be approved as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of small edits in the terms of reference under number 2. Or maybe it was 3. Two, sorry. We should be using the Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change. We've crossed out department. That word should be back in there.
Okay, that can be easily done. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for that. Any further discussion? We ready for the question? You ready for the vote? Right.
To all of the question, Madam Chair, I need a motion to say as amended.
As amended. Okay, thank you. Okay, voting is open. So close the vote. And the unanimous in favor of the motion. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Michelle. And you're on again with the Debert Airport snow removal. Did I miss one? Oh, sorry, it's under small flood damage reduction project policy revisions. Sorry, Michelle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item relates to some changes to the, or proposed changes to the policy that governs the work of the County Flood Advisory Committee. These proposed policy changes are shown as striked out and attached to your item, but I will give a general overview of the proposed changes. Again, the policy of council, so the Flood Advisory Committee doesn't have authority to make the changes, although the committee as well as our municipal solicitor have reviewed the proposed changes and discussed them at a couple of meetings, and the committee is in favor of making the changes. So now with council for review. So some of the changes in the policy, we've revised the definition of owner to tidy up legal language around that. Principal residence, we've also modified so that if you own a farm property, but there is a family home or principal residence on the farmland, they can still qualify for work. That's mainly because for farmland in general, that's excluded from the policy going forward, but a family farmland could still qualify. We also wanted the definition of residential property to exclude a rental property. Again, council, other than if it's a duplex and the owner lives in half, that's okay. But if the structure or the building is a rental property, any work by the committee or funding council would be supporting a business essentially, which is inappropriate under the NGA. We have limited the scope of projects to be areas impacted by watercourses purely, and that's traditionally how the policy was set up. We had introduced a second criteria a number of years ago that dealt with properties affected by storm drainage from paths of the right of way. But that has been very complicated. We don't have authority to work within a provincial right of way under the committee's mandate, so that stipulation was removed, and now the focus is back to properties that are negatively impacted by watercourses. There was also a need to further develop what qualifies as an emergency situation. So if there's an emergency, the committee has the ability to do work on non-residential property, for example. With legal, we just defined what an emergency means. Same for work on properties that are commercial farmland. That's now been excluded again except under limited circumstances for emergencies. So as an example, if a residential home is being threatened, to assist them is to also do some work on a commercial property, then that could be considered by the committee as well. We looked at introducing a 50% reduction for residents who meet the low income threshold, and that will be the same threshold that's included in our policy, taxation policy. We've also introduced a 1-year maintenance period, so it goes out and does a project on a property. Within the 1 year, if anything happens to the project, there's a washout or the grass isn't growing, we would go back, but after the 1 year maintenance period, we don't go back and repair. We've also introduced a 1-year lien for the county's contribution to a project. So currently, if you own a residential property, you qualify for 75% funding from the municipality. And the committee had concerns about what if I'm just prepping to sell my home next month and I approach the committee for support. And the committee's giving me the equivalent of $10,000, and I'm really just using that money so I can flip the property. So if within the 1 year lien period, the property changes hands, then that municipal contribution has to be paid back. Except there is a provision under special circumstances that a request can be made to council to waive that 1 year lien. So if somebody passes away and there was not an intention to transfer the property for that reason, and similar to the dangerous and unsightly process, council can lift a lien of that nature, but the committee itself cannot do that. We also looked at clarifying in cases where the committee can fund 100% of a project, for example, and the committee may do that if 2, 3, 4, 5 properties are affected, for example. So there are cases where it's benefited a community, so the committee has agreed to fund the entire value of the project. So that definition was further described within the policy as well. So those are some of the changes that we're proposing. Again, as I said, they're shown as a strikeout and an addition attached to your item. Committee is in favor of making the changes, and as I said, they've been reviewed by our solicitor as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you,
for these
Michelle.
changes.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. I'll put a motion on the floor that council committee recommends to council that the proposed changes to the small flood damage reduction projects policy be approved as presented.
Thank you. We have a seconder, Councillor Cooper. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question and called. Voting is now open. Please vote. Is closed. We have approved the motion unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Patton, did you want to say something?
I'm sorry.
And Councillor Martel?
I'll be declaring conflict of interest for number 10 as well.
All right, thank you.
I will.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Leggett and Councillor Martel have excused themselves or recused themselves from this discussion. And over to Michelle on the Debert Airport snow removal item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The purpose of this item is to seek council committee and council approval for the snow removal services at the Debert Airport. Over the last number of years, we have issued public tenders for snow removal at the airport for a period. In 2021-22, we did issue a 3-year contract. Recently, we've gone back to 1-year contract for this year until we make some decisions, further decisions around the airport. So what you have before you is the results of our tender. Again, we did issue it publicly. We received 3 bids in total. We do in our tender request a certain type and size of equipment as needed to plow the airport runways, and we also request airport plowing coverage for insurance, which is specialized to the airport. The 3 quotes were from Ian Sinclair, AK Property Management, and Chapman Brothers. AK Property Management did not meet the minimum equipment criteria, and so they were disqualified from the tender. So what you have before you are the hourly rates from Ian Sinclair and Chapman. While the hourly rates for Chapman were slightly less than Ian Sinclair, the cost of their airport insurance was over 5,000 more. And so based on the number of hours that we see every winter for plowing, we certainly wouldn't recover that cost and the hourly rates by going with Chapman Brothers. And so staff are recommending that we award the contract to Ian Sinclair for the current fiscal year with the rates as shown. Right.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Benoit, please.
Thank you, Chair. I make a motion that council committee recommends to council that the snow removal contract for the Debert Airport for 25-26 winter season be awarded to Ian Sinclair Contracting.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Weatherby. Any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question's been called. The vote is now open. Please vote. There we go. That's everyone. Voting is now closed. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Yes.
Who determines the hours? Do they just put any hours they in? And they won't?
Through the chair, no, so in the tender, we stipulate that if it's more than 5 centimeters, then the airport manager will contact them to come out and do the plowing. So the airport manager on site essentially dictates when the snow needs to be cleared.
Thank you, Michelle, for that. So now we're moving on to our information items. Number 11 is the 80-20 trucking rule and provincial changes. And Michelle has provided quite an extensive document here to explain the provincial changes. Are there any questions for Michelle? Councillor Kennedy, did you want to ask?
Oh, no.
No, okay. Any questions? Thank you. She wants to. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If it's okay, Madam
Sure.
Chair, it's a pretty comprehensive item. I realize at this point it's information from staff. Because the 80-20 is reflected in our procurement policy, there will need to be a change going forward to our own policy. And so somewhat with this item, I wanted to flag to council if there are any concerns, comments, questions about these changes. Best for staff to know now how we will deal with it going forward. And also because we, come January, we're going to be issuing our tenders as we do for construction, then the changes to the procurement policy should probably happen, very early in the new year. And I acknowledge to some councillors, this 80-20 rule is probably a new thing. So for council to give it some thought, at this point, the province is eliminating it. Likely we would recommend the same unless council wants staff to think about it a little bit differently. So something for council to think about in the coming month or 6 weeks.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So since we went to that 80-20 rule of things seem to have worked quite well. For that, we heard all the time about problems, people thought things weren't being done fairly. There's a whole lot of issues. So I'm very reluctant to switch from that, our point of view. Unless there's, staff confident they come up with alternative that's gonna address all the issues that are there before. So. Over a great number of years, I think for a long time. But many times. They seem to, all any problems we had, so very reluctant to just drop it. Just wanted to make a comment.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Deputy. Just from what I know, and I remember when Fred Tilley probably announced this a month and a half or 2 months ago, whatever it was, but I think we were sitting in a council and I got a text from a family in my district that operates a couple dump trucks, excavators, floats. They were bent out of shape. They thought this was the end of the world, but I'll tell you what, now they're saying it's not that bad of a thing. So initially, I think it come across as that we're gonna lose work because the province is gonna allow contractors to bring in their fleets like a Dexter's come in and run it all. But I think after 60 days, probably 60 days, they come out, they're okay with it. They get a comfort level now and they've got a little more explanation on what it's gonna do and how it's gonna work, and they're not screaming. So I think if this outfit that is in my district, been around a long time, if they're okay with it, I'm okay.
Thank you. Councillor Leggett.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Every area has a truckers association. Usually there's a dispatcher involved and trucks get matted out from that pool to jobs under this 80-20 rule. For those that don't know, a couple people reached out. Contractor can use their first truck. The next 8 have to be hired through the association on the 80-20. You can put your next truck in at truck 10 and it goes again the other way. Biggest issue now, way back when, show my age, there used to be an awful lot of dump trucks around. Very few dump trucks around, privately owned dump trucks around now. If you look at what Chapman's are doing on the 102, they're bringing trucks from PEI, Halifax, anywhere they can get them, because there isn't enough dump trucks in Colchester County to fill that niche market. So it's probably, at the meeting, the local people were, as Councilor Johnson said, pretty wound up about it, but I think at the end of the day, I know mostly people have alliances with contracting companies already. So when they're doing work, if you see Weeks is doing work in town, I know exactly who's gonna be doing their dump truck work. That doesn't matter, right? Because log doesn't, because if you say under 3 trucks, you can use one of your own and two of somebody else's. You can get 2 from somebody. Chance of getting all 8 or utilizing all 8, not gonna happen for today's world. So I think something's gonna go by the way of the dodo bird. Everybody's still gonna live. There's more than enough work out there. People want it. And a lot of people are doing their own stuff. Don't want to work for big companies. Because there is stuff that goes along with that. So I'm good with it going. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or concerns? All right, if you think of anything, and Michelle, I'm sure will be willing to make any other concerns as we move forward. Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you, Deputy. I added this to the agenda. The
Yes.
art acquisition program happened yesterday. And I do want to thank you and Councillor Weatherby for being judges in this contest. It was amazing. We had some wonderful pieces of art. I hope that as many of you had an opportunity to see them as possible. There were 47 pieces of art, and it included paintings, photography, carvings, mixed media. You had watercolors, you had oils, you had acrylics, and it was wonderful. The selected piece of art was quite different, actually. It's pyrography, simply means writing with fire. And that's what it is. It was fire sketched on wood, and it's a picture of a wolf. And for those of you who may have your booklet, this is what it looks like. And the wolf on the sketch looked like he was coming right off the piece of wood. It's absolutely beautiful. So Donna Biglucci was the artist, and she burns her pieces on live edge wood, various shapes and sizes, and heavyweight paper. But this ancient art can also decorate leather, boards, and more. Her work is heavily influenced by nature and wildlife, and she says she's always challenging herself with new possibilities. This piece of art will be wonderful for our collection in Colchester County. And once again, thank you to the 2 judges from our table that participated in it. I wanted to bring that to council's attention.
Thank you. Councillor Weatherby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out that there were 3 other judges. 2 artists and our own Craig Burgess. Quite an experience. I would recommend it to anybody. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Know nothing about art. The winning piece was on my, not chosen first, but it was chosen second. So we all got a chance to bid, and I was quite impressed with the procedure. So I'd just like to congratulate Craig and his staff. Did a marvelous job. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would add my kudos to the Burgess team. It was well run. It was the magazine that was put together with all of the art in it. We had one gentleman say he may not have won, but he feels like a winner because of the recognition that everybody got. And there was a young Ukrainian gentleman, boy, grade 7, that submitted a piece, and it was the drawing of the clock in the town of Truro. And he received an honorable mention and a beautiful ribbon. I said to Caitlin, did you plan that the colors in the ribbon would be Ukrainian flag colors, as they were blue and yellow? So that was kind of cool. So it was very well done. So congratulations to the Craig Burgess and his team.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is number 12, our director's report. Solid waste. Very detailed report. Thank you for all the beautiful pictures in there. Some of dump sites, which aren't so beautiful, but thank you for the detailed report. Are there any questions for our director? Nothing? All right, thank you very much. Well, that's our items for information, and our next section is a closed session, and I would look for a motion to go in camera. Moved by Councillor Patton. Seconded by Councillor Butterfield. All in favor, say aye. Contrary minded, nay.